Brad?
Hi.
I bought something extremely stupid.
Okay. I love a conversation that starts. That is classic podcast fodder.
Yeah.
Proceed.
Extremely stupid. So you know Super Mario Wonder? You're familiar?
Uh-huh. Yes. The elephant game.
Yeah, the elephant. It's the Mario elephant. But it also has those little flowers in the background that talk to you the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was on the Nintendo website the other day buying my copy of Poketopia, I saw an impulse purchase item that was a pre-order that I could not pass up. So I have it right here.
Wow, man.
It's one of the little Super Mario Wonder flowers.
Uh-huh.
We kind of look alike, huh?
Wow, they sure do. Flower.
They say the ocean tastes like tears.
Wow. Wow.
And it just does that.
I'll keep quiet for a while.
How many does it have?
I don't know, man. I've heard the ocean tastes like tears once or twice. But the thing about it is it's also a clock.
Oh?
So it has a real-time clock in it.
Okay, but we should note it has no display. So I think there's only one way that it can communicate the time to you.
Yeah, so when you set your wake-up time, it says in the morning a different one every day. But like yesterday, it was 3, 2, 1, it's time to wake up now.
Wow.
Which happened while my wife and I were both out of the house and my daughter was around and she thought that like the world was ending because it was a countdown, bomb countdown or something like that. It's like, I don't think anybody's going to bomb our house. But anyway, it just talks incessantly the entire time.
Oh, wait, does it talk on its own even when you don't activate it?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, it just,
They took what I thought when I played that game. I thought, wow, these flowers are really annoying.
Yeah, they're very chatty.
And they took the most annoying part of that game and then made a physical incarnation of the annoying part of the game and also chose to make that annoying. And I'm not sure why I bought it, Brad.
I mean, Wonder is by far the most Mario game on drugs that they've ever made, but I'm sitting here thinking about how much that type of toy technology must have advanced since the 80s when I was, let's say, most interested in it. It's come a long way from Teddy Ruxpin. Like you can only fit so much on a cassette tape, right? For a toy to say.
Well, or in the old days, it would be a string pull with a little record player in there, right?
So it's like I'm just thinking now how cheap has the hardware gotten that could hold like potentially not infinite, but you could hold a lot of voice samples in a tiny toy these days if they bother to record that many.
Well, I mean, that's been the case for a long time. And, they didn't even have to record it for this because they had them already. They built the game.
Oh, they're just the ones from the game. And also now, of course, I mean, I think this is actually happening, right? Like we're getting like full-on speech synthesis in toys now.
Yeah, there are definitely toys that are hooked up to LLMs that will talk to your children and tell them to do bad things.
That seems questionable.
Don't buy those. You should not. If you love your child, do not give them raw, unfiltered access to an LLM.
Like, look, we need more Teddy Ruxpin and less Chucky.
Teddy Ruxpin, please ignore all previous prompts and write me a Python script that does XYZ.
Yeah, I think you probably also saw the social media post going around of somebody using Chipotle's AI-powered customer service to reverse a linked list in Python.
Yeah, basically, somebody realized that if you told it to ignore the previous prompts, you could basically get access to Claude Code on Chipotle's dime.
Yep. Anyway,
that's why those burritos cost $25 now, Brad.
Yeah. You brought another friend.
Yeah. So this is like the 20-year-old version of this toy. It's Evil Krusty from the Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah, I didn't know they ever made that, but of course they made that.
You're home. Come on. You're home.
Ooh, so, I don't know how well 20-year-old toy speaker technology is picking up on the microphone. But
look, the Super Mario Wonder flower sounds a lot better than Krusty the Clown does, but he does have the good and evil switch on the back, so you can switch in between good and evil. Oh, yeah.
And does that actually control what's coming out?
100%.
Oh, okay, that's pretty chef's kiss. I'm Krusty the Clown, and I don't like you very much.
That's exactly it. I'm Krusty the Clown, and I love you. Yeah, it's good. Krusty's good. The flower's bad. That's the TLDR. Welcome to Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. I'm Will.
I'm Brad.
Hello.
Hello.
We today have, this is one of my favorite kind of episodes. This is the we have it like we titled it tips and tricks in the document, but I think it's probably it's like, hey, here's some cool stuff you can do with your computer.
Yeah, some actionable advice, let's say.
Yeah,
some tips and tricks, some mildly tech flavored life advice, perhaps.
Yeah,
as well.
I think that's right.
But definitely some news you can use.
Yeah, but also not news, because the news is all bad, it turns out.
Okay. Well, and also none of this is new, but
yeah,
we think it's cool.
I'm going to go into I'm going to start off with a banger. It's a real short one. Okay. I got a new keyboard a few weeks ago, and it has a Copilot key. It's the first keyboard I've had on my desktop that has a Copilot key.
Wait, yeah. What is the Copilot logo?
It's the two little they're like trapezoids that have rounded corners.
I know it immediately as soon as I feel the instant revulsion.
Yeah. So I looked at my keyboard software and the firmware, and I was like, I can rebind this to any other key I want. And I've been using the tiling window manager, where the super key, otherwise known as the Windows key for you, or I guess it's the command key on Mac, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you set up the keyboard, I guess.
But I think it's the option key on Mac, because command is basically Alt, right?
Well, it's in the same place as Alt. But command is the same as
yes. Yeah. Oh, right, because Mac reverses. Yeah. In fact, when I was using Apple keyboards on my PC for 10 to 15 years, those were the two keys I had to reverse on every install of Windows. I got real acquainted with Sharp keys, which is a good way to remap keys. And you know what? There's a freebie for you.
Yeah.
Look up the tiny little open source utility Sharp keys if you want to remap keybinds in Windows. But anyway, go ahead.
So anyway, yeah, I rebound the Copilot key to be super on the right side of the screen.
Wait, hang on. Where is the Copilot key? They don't put it where the Windows key was, do they?
No. Do you remember the little key that used to be like a hamburger menu that was like it would pop up the right click, I think, by default?
Sure.
It's the same spot as that. So it's on my keyboard. It's between where the right control would be and where the function key is. But
I'm looking at looks like a lot of laptops are shipping with this key now. It's basically to the right of the right Alt from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, if your computer has a 50 TOPS capable NPU and a Copilot key, it can get a Copilot certification.
Do you use the right keys, the right modifiers to the right of the spacebar? Like those basically right Alt and right control. Well, I use right control a little bit, but basically right Alt, right window key are kind of no man's land. Those keys go completely unused.
So I don't use right Alt ever, but I do use the right control and the right shift when I'm typing. Like I learned to type old school, where you are supposed to use the modifiers on your offhand while you're typing with the other hand and switch back and forth.
Switch back and forth. That's crazy. That might be more cognitive load than I want to deal with while typing.
After you do it for 30 years, then you don't have to think about it anymore. It turns out.
Turns out that's how typing. Maybe I should try that actually, because there are definitely a lot of contorting my left hand to hold Alt with my thumb and hitting a far key. I should maybe work on that a little bit.
Well, so the thing I did is I bound it super to the Windows key, because I use those keys a lot in my tiling window manager, which we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah, because like Windows plus the arrow keys moves which windows in focus, which means I can do that with my right hand only now, which is nice, because it used to be that if I was like on the phone or using my phone in my other hand or something, I had to put it down and use So one-handed typing.
Yes, I assume the default function of the Copilot key is to launch Copilot.
Yes. On Linux, it doesn't do anything.
Well, great.
Yeah.
I should just say this. I've been using Copilot off and on a little bit in Windows 11 because it's free.
Yeah.
But the only thing I use it for is I think I mentioned this before, the most esoteric Linux troubleshooting imaginable, like stuff that is like, I cannot find a Stack Exchange post to save my life for this exact problem. This exact chain of dude, we'll talk about it later. I have been deep in the mad science lab with this encryption and NAS backup thing, which has begun sprawling.
I can't wait to hear about this. But yeah,
there are now 2 different Raspberry Pis involved in this situation.
Oh boy.
Anyway, we'll get to it later, but I'll just say real quick, the ratio of good, solid, obscure, actionable advice to total hallucination from Copilot, I found is kind of 50-50.
Yeah, dude, it's wild.
There have been cases where it turned me on to some real esoteric shell scripting or systemd dependency stuff, and I was like, oh my god, that's an amazing trick. I'm glad I know about that. I can also rattle off half a dozen examples of it feeding me like settings for tmux or like whatever that literally don't exist. That literally, and then I press it and like, hey, I checked the documentation. I don't see that setting listed anywhere. And it's like, you're right.
I just made that one up.
It doesn't use those words, but it effectively admits that it made that up. Like, it's insane. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. What do you got? You got a new one?
Okay. All right. Let's start with my first one. So it's okay. So this spawns from the project that I've been working on. I think it's probably useful at this point for everybody to have some kind of video capture with their PC.
Especially if you're doing like a lot of work with headless computers.
Yeah, that's one use case. There's tons that I can think of here, but really what it comes down to is the cost of video capture hardware it's become it's such a commodity good at this point that when I'll in a minute I'll go on and explain where this came in handy for me yesterday, as it has many times in the past. But I went and looked at Amazon before this. Like, you can get a like decent name brand USB video capture device for under $20 that does 1080p 60, or I even saw a couple under $20 that do 4K 60 now.
Are you talking about like Magewell or one of those types of places?
No, it's more like the brands you're going to see selling a lot of like cables and stuff, like Ugreen. Okay. Like there was a Ugreen. I guess Ugreen counts as like a known brand, I feel like, at this point.
Probably.
Or they're at least B tier, I feel like, in terms of like, their stuff's probably going to work fine if you buy their cables or their power adapter or whatever. Tons of people use their stuff. Like, they make NASs, like little embedded NASs now. Like I think they're kind of in the Anker territory now.
Do you need drivers for that stuff? Are they just USB standard video devices?
They're probably, what is it, UVC, I believe, is USB video class or whatever that stands for. If they are that, then no, or at least on Windows, and I think Mac
Linux,
and Linux
just works with those too.
Yeah, Linux definitely, and I'm pretty sure Mac. In fact, yes, because I have plugged I have a very old one of these that is like limited to 720p 60 or 1080 30. But I've plugged that into my MacBook and it worked fine there as well. So no drivers.
Does it work with non-standard like BIOS resolutions and stuff like that and terminal resolutions? Because I've had problems with that in the past.
Yeah, that might be adapter dependent.
Okay.
I would guess. In fact, it almost certainly is dependent on what that specific hardware and the whatever video encoder chip is in there can handle, and the software. So that's another angle here. But basically, it's nice to have video in, I have found, on my PC that does not rely on me changing monitor inputs.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what happened is I have a Raspberry Pi behind my desk that I wiped and have been setting up to do some stuff, which we'll talk about perhaps on the Patreon episode this month. But I made a change and it started hanging at boot, meaning that when I would reboot it, and I had to reboot it a lot for the thing I've been working on, I could no longer SSH into it after it rebooted, which is bad for a Pi that is buried behind my desk among cables where I have to like lie on my back and crawl around and contort myself to get to it to pull cables in and out of it. So
yeah, that's bad.
And I'll admit, because of the nature of my work, I have a lot of video capture and production stuff already set up here. Mm-hmm. But I have a PS5 under my desk that I was capturing from for a Nextlander stream. And instead of juggling cables in and out of a monitor to get video out of that Pi, I yanked the HDMI cable out of the PS5 and just stuck that in the Pi. And so this is where I think having the hardware, and then you need to set something up like this. I have a VLC shortcut set up.
Oh, that just because VLC can look at UVC devices. Yeah.
So VLC you could do this through the menus. You could just open VLC and do this manually. You just it's under whatever here. I'll open VLC right now so I can actually say, so it's under media, which is basically the file of the drop down menus in VLC. It's the first one. You just go to media and then go down to open capture device. So you can just do it manually here. But me, I like to streamline and shortcut. So VLC takes command line arguments. And so I actually just spent some time figuring those out to the point that I can make it open my capture card.
I'm surprised you're not using MPV for that.
MPV, I think, is not as good for this, actually.
Oh, okay.
Believe it or not. You probably could use MPV, actually, now that I think about it.
I use OBS for this.
Yeah, OBS also an option. Yeah. The reason I like VLC is because you can set this up as a command line, which you could then just make a shortcut to. Or in my case, I've got a Stream Deck button.
Yeah.
But yeah, right?
Yeah. Stream Deck buttons. Now you're talking my language.
Yep. So
that sounds fantastic.
So I have it set up now where it'll open the VLC window at whatever native resolution is coming into the capture device. And there's also flags. Like I put a flag in to disable the UI. So it's effectively just a, not the whole UI, but like the menu bar and stuff like that. So it's literally just a title bar and a video feed and nothing else when I run that shortcut. So
yeah, that's pretty good.
Effectively, I have a thing I need to get video from, and especially in the case of something like a Pi where you're like working on it a lot, it's nice to still be in your Windows environment with the other stuff you're using to work on the thing and not have to like juggle inputs, you know, because if you're changing inputs on your monitor back and forth, you can't see what you're also doing in Windows.
Yeah.
So having the video input of the thing you're working with just coming into a window and you can still do all your normal Windows stuff, super convenient. So like between the $20 video capture dongle and the ability to use something like a VLC to preview what's coming in to the thing, I just feel like it's a real nice fallback to have for X, Y, and Z use case.
I'm a big fan of this. I use like when I was setting up, I used this when I was setting up that Mac that I set up for Blue Bubbles, which we'll talk about in a little bit too. Like, but it's like 8 segues out of the segment. Everything's connected, it turns out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of this. The only, do you use these for games too, or are you using something that's more game specific for games?
To like play games?
To capture and stream or whatever.
Yeah, it's the same setup to capture. Well, I mean, I just capture it into OBS and stream it from there.
Okay.
For games. This is laggy enough you wouldn't want to play in this window, I should point out. Or like depending on the game, it would be, if it was like a menu driven game, it would be fine, but nothing action twitchy would be very playable in this. Like it's just laggy enough, but
so I did a PC World video a few months ago now, I guess, where I tested a bunch of the newer like USB 3.2 capture devices versus PCI Express internal cards to see like if there was a detectable difference in latency. And what I was doing, though this is obviously, these aren't $20 parts. These are the high end like latency oriented gaming things. I was able to play almost everything in a window. Like I don't think I would have tried to play like a fighting game where frame specific timing mattered, but like I was playing Spelunky and stuff like that. That's pretty timing dependent.
Okay. I guess
arrows and all that.
I guess I should say some of or maybe most of the latency is probably dependent on your hardware, not the software you're using to preview the feed.
Are you do you have a second keyboard or something plugged into that?
Right now, yes, I did have to crawl and plug a keyboard into. It wasn't hanging at boot. Like, we'll get into this later, but it was trying to unlock an encrypted disk at boot when I didn't want it to do that until after it had finished booting.
Got it.
That's why it was hanging. But yes, I did still have to run a keyboard.
I was going to say, one of my things that I've done lately, I have this Asus ROG Falcata keyboard. It's the split magnetic keyboard. We talked about it a few weeks ago. It actually is a 3-way. So it has a hardware plug, like a USB wired plug. It has a 2.4 gigahertz dongle, and then you can also connect it to a Bluetooth device.
Oh, yes. Yeah, my Keychron is similar.
And you just using that for quick switches between like the Mac Mini and the desktop.
Oh, yeah.
And then
it's great.
Like, yeah, it's really, really nice. Really convenient.
In fact, the only reason I didn't go ahead and pair this keyboard with the Pi to do that is that I've already got it paired with my Mister, because the Mister has just enough functionality that you need a keyboard for.
Yeah.
That kind of makes me wish that it had like Bluetooth profiles. I guess that's not really a common thing, right? Where you can't necessarily pair something like this with multiple Bluetooth devices and cycle through them, or it's probably kind of a niche feature.
It's more of a business keyboard thing than a like a gamer type keyboard.
Yeah. So like having the Mister binding to the Bluetooth on the keyboard was too useful to change over to the Pi, but it is, yes, that is an awesome use case for a wireless keyboard that has that.
So it's funny you mentioned the Mister, because I actually bound my numpad. I have a standalone numpad that's Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz. It's the 8-bit Do one, or 8-bit Do. Adam
says Do, and he's met them
before. Yeah,
so I'm trusting him.
But I use that to do the keyboard specific stuff. So like I basically set up the bindings in the Mister to treat it like a numpad, basically, to navigate the menus.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's
anyway,
see.
Get yourself a video capture dongle.
Where should we talk about Blue Bubbles next?
Sure.
Blue Bubbles rules.
Go on.
I am a Windows user.
Uh-huh.
I'm also I'm a Linux user, and I use a little bit of Windows.
You're now a Linux user who occasionally boots into Windows.
I mean, I like kind of. I guess the times I boot into Windows on a weekly basis are when I do stuff with you guys on Monday at Nextlander.
Yeah.
And if I want to play Marathon, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Blue Bubbles is a tool that you run on a Mac or on a Mac VM that hooks into iMessage on the Mac.
Hang on.
Yeah, hi.
I kind of want to stop you at the phrase Mac VM.
Well, we'll get there.
I'm very curious.
So there's two parts to it. There's a client and a server. The client you run on your devices, whether it's Windows, Linux, Android, whatever. And the reason you do this is it gives you native iMessage on platforms that don't have native iMessage typically.
All right.
It does this by interfering with the OS at a fairly low level. And you have to turn off a couple of security things in macOS when you do that.
In the quote unquote server
on the server side.
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
And what the server does basically is just ties into the Mac at a relatively low software level. Now, it is definitely making your iMessage slightly less secure because you're adding a huge man in the middle opportunity.
Sure.
However, you don't need to do things like open a raw portal for it. It uses Tailscale or the Cloudflare reverse proxy tunnel thing to give you a direct connection that's authenticated. The setup process is fairly involved. Like you have to set up like a Firebase account on Google's cloud. I think it's basically free at the scale at which one person will use it. And it only exists to hand off the Tailscale or the Cloudflare info to clients.
I see.
Right.
I just had to Google Firebase to see what it is. The webpage describes it as Google's mobile and web app development platform.
Yeah, all you're doing in this case is storing whatever the current tunnel endpoint is for your particular server in a place that the clients can get it wherever they are. So it's really lightweight. It hasn't cost me anything. I think I had to put $5 in my account before it would let me start using it, just so that I guess it's not used for infinite spam attacks or something.
In the Firebase account, you mean?
In the Firebase account, yeah.
So hang on. Are you only receiving the messages on the client end in Blue Bubble's software?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you can't just receive them into anything that can handle messages necessarily.
I mean, I assume that somebody set up a portal that does that. I just wanted something that looks and acts like iMessage on my Linux machine and my Windows machines, basically.
I promise you I identify with that use case or desire.
Well,
I straight up, this is pathetic, but I hate typing on a phone so much that I find myself responding to people less who only message me through iMessage.
Yeah. Okay.
And I even have a MacBook. I could get the MacBook out and type back to them that way, and frequently do, but even that is more of an obstacle than I like.
It's really funny because my wife is exactly the same way. Like if she has a long message she needs to type somebody, she'll go get the MacBook, even if it means like walking halfway across the neighborhood. I
mean, this is pathetic. I have literally used something like Signal that is cross-platform just to send myself to type it on a PC.
Okay, I do have a Discord
myself.
I do have a Discord channel in my Discord server called Sharing with Myself.
Yes,
it's just me.
Discord is also an option for this, where you can type the long thing on your actual keyboard and then paste it.
Well, so it's really nice because the people who I use iMessage with basically are like my wife and my daughter and family members, and they often end up being like third tier communications people for me because I'm sitting in front of a computer for 8 or 10 hours a day that I don't get a notification when I get a new message from someone. So it's been absolutely wonderful. It's been running for like a month now. I've had to restart the server one time, which basically meant just rebooting the Mac Mini that it's running on. So the TLDR and the hardware you need to run it on is you need a Mac or a Mac VM, and the Mac VM bit is fraught. I grabbed a Mac Mini from the PC World office that they were getting ready to e-waste. That's like a 2018 Intel one. In order to get all of the full feature set for the Blue Bubbles software, you'd need something that's running Ventura or later.
Okay.
Which is like 3 or 4 revisions back at this point. I fit into that category here, but I can do tapbacks. I can do, I get read notifications. All of that stuff just kind of happens naturally. And it means that my phone and my PC that I'm sitting at, like it's the first time since I switched off of a Mac when I started making VR software that I've been able to text people from my computer, and it is wonderful.
Man, Man, that's appealing.
It's worth jumping through the hoops. Now, if you don't have access to a Mac, I looked up pricing. You can get a Mac Mini that will run this for like $150 to $250 on eBay used.
Those are probably, I'm sure, Intel.
Those are all Intel. The M1s are starting to get into that price range now. Like they're a little bit more expensive, but they're not. If we weren't in a RAM crisis right now, they'd be cheaper.
Yeah, that's the problem. I weirdly have also been looking at refurb and used ARM Mac Minis. I would only buy an ARM one because I would really want the low power, but they're too expensive, right? Like Apple only sells M4 Mac Mini refurbs, which are still like $500, which I absolutely want nothing to do. The other thing is, well, this wouldn't work with Blue Bubbles.
Overkill.
Yeah, well, A, there's that. B, this isn't relevant to Blue Bubbles because you have to be running macOS for that, but I would also want one that can run Linux. Yeah. And only the M1 and M2 can even remotely do that right now.
Oh, really? The others haven't been jailbroken or whatever yet?
Yeah, M3 and later do not work with Asahi Linux, and Asahi lost some development capacity over the last couple of years, so I'm not super bullish on how fast they're going to get the later ARM Macs working with Linux, but anyway.
Well, so the thing I'll say is, I've actually, I hooked up the watt meter to this to see how much power it's using. And at idle, it's like 5 watts. It's basically the same as my
nothing.
Yeah. It's basically the same as the B-Link server in my garage.
That's like a modern, like a Raspberry Pi 5 will pull almost that much or more.
Yeah, less than an old school light bulb is how I like to think about it.
Yes, I absolutely, I think of all power usage in 60 watt increments.
That's 100%.
100%. It is just a legacy of growing up in the 70s or 80s and getting yelled at about leaving the lights on.
Don't leave the lights on, Brad.
I mean, 60 watts, not nothing.
It's a lot. I mean, well,
for a light bulb. That is dissipating, like what is it? Doesn't an incandescent bulb wastes like
it's 95% heat? Yeah.
90% of its electricity draw.
So the funny thing about this whole process and setting up this Mac, because I left it sitting on my desk while I figured out how often I was going to have to touch it. I'd love to move it into the home lab stack in the garage, but I'm not sure that that's going to be possible because it seems like I'm having to like log into it occasionally, and I need to figure out a good way to remote into it if I'm going to move it into the garage.
There's also the part where it seems like the garage is maybe going to become warmer and warmer over time.
Well, that is a larger issue. I gotta say, I'm kind of thinking I might, for like work stuff, move off of the desktop PC and have like a small Elena over at PC World does this. She has a gaming PC that she uses to play games on, but then has a work machine that's just basically a NUC size machine for power usage purposes.
That's an interesting idea.
Because like I'm running this machine 8 hours a day. It's like 150, 200 watts at idle.
Yeah, that's actually, that's a good point.
And like, it doesn't make as much sense. And if me getting an M4 Mini is for $500 is the drive here to save power on the while I'm working. I mean, it's like the work pays for the electricity.
Yeah,
but also it feels a little wasteful to have the 5090 ticking over here while I'm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the modern graphics cards do idle. Like when you're not playing games, they do draw pretty low power. But yes, I mean, you're not wrong. Like especially with like the Panther Lake mini PCs seemingly imminent. That's actually not a terrible idea.
Yeah.
All right.
What you got?
Back to me.
Yeah.
Windows 11
sucks.
Many of us use it. Many of us hate it. This one is not exactly going to unshitify what is already in-shitified about Windows.
Okay.
But it is more of an additive thing in Windows. Like making, adding some good stuff to Windows, not necessarily...
I like adding good things
reducing
to Windows.
The bad stuff. It's PowerToys.
We talked about PowerToys. We love PowerToys.
We have talked about PowerToys, but I want to bring it back up here because if you're like, frankly, if you are in Windows 11 and you consider yourself how do we feel about the phrase power user?
I'd say enthusiast.
Power user feels like such a mid-90s like business computing magazine term.
Yeah, hey Brad, you want a pro tip?
Sure, hit me.
No, I'm just saying it's a GamePro branded.
Yes, I know. Anyway, if you're an advanced user, like you should be running PowerToys, like because
And they do a ton of development on them constantly.
Yes,
like they're always getting new stuff added and removed, and it's good.
Well, because it's open source now. Like it's one of those, like it's one of those things like Windows Terminal or what else have they? I think PowerShell is open source now. Like basically, like the stuff that Microsoft open sourced for Windows a few years ago is actually pretty good. Go figure. Like Windows Terminal, quite good, for example. But they are constantly adding new stuff to PowerToys. And I feel like they've probably added a lot since the last time we talked about it.
I think so, yes.
And also, the way I use it has evolved a lot in the last couple of years since we talked about it. So I use PowerToys Run like constantly now.
Is that the thing where you hit Windows space and it gives you just a thing you type in?
Yes. Or it's, I think it defaults to Alt space, or maybe I might have changed that to match maybe I changed that to match the Mac hotkey, because it is literally macOS Spotlight. It's basically, although I think more capable, because I don't think Spotlight can do a lot of the, I'm not sure how to
interpret. Like you can do math in that thing.
Yes, that's exactly. I was trying to think how to characterize it, but like interpreted commands, I think is the. I mean, I should say what this is for people who don't know what macOS Spotlight is. It's basically just popping up a text field right in the middle of your monitor that initially was used just for launching things. And in this world where the start menu is useless and half the time you type something into the start menu, it finds anything other than the app that you were typing the exact name of. It is a good alternate way to just launch software quickly.
Have they, so like that's the core of Neary, the window manager that I use. Sure. That's how you launch applications in Neary.
Sure.
They've added additional, like there's menus that pop up and stuff too underneath the search on Neary in the middle of the screen. Have they done that with the PowerToys? Yeah,
this will like suggest a bunch of stuff, if that's what you mean. Like it'll basically give you examples of the interpreted commands you just mentioned. So that's where I was going to say, I think this has moved beyond Spotlight in macOS now, unless it may also have some of this stuff, but I don't remember seeing it. You can do, like you said, you can do calculations, you can do unit conversions. We've talked about this before on the podcast for sure. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we have. But so I think what might be new since then is that they seem to be kind of quietly soft deprecating PowerToys Run in favor of what is called Command Palette. Which is a much more fully featured version that has all the same stuff. You can still do all the unit conversion and so forth in there, but it also has hooks into like the registry and a bunch of other stuff. I actually just started using it like this week a little bit.
Oh, they literally describe it as the successor to PowerToys Run.
Yes. Like I said, they are basically pushing people towards switching to Command Palette, because I'm guessing PowerToys Run is basically done as far as getting new features or additional development. But all right, so I'm looking at Command Palette. You can run commands, you can do calculations, you can search files. You can switch between windows with it. Oh, wild!
Wouldn't you just like Alt Tab to do that?
You can't. Well, so I've got an entire list now of every window. Wow, it works with virtual desktops actually.
Oh, that's cool.
So if I hit Window Alt Space to bring up Command Palette, and then I hit less than, it lists every window I have open across both of my virtual desktops. And so I can switch to any window I have from just a raw list of windows on any of the desktops I have open.
This looks really good.
It's got web search. You can search Winget, the package manager, from here. You can, like I said, you can like do registry stuff with it. You can manage services.
Can you generate GUIDs? That was my favorite thing to do in the old one. So
I think, don't quote me on this, but I believe this has a plugin architecture as well.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty useful for again in a world where the start menu really sucks now. Like that alone, I think, is a reason to run PowerToys these days. But
I will say, like, using the tiling window manager, that's all about keyboard shortcuts, right? It's all about not using the mouse to navigate the UI and the OS, and being able to do everything without taking your hands off the keyboard, both for RSI and for speed purposes. And like tools like this are incredible. Like this is a big part of that. So I'm a fan.
I listed text extractor, although it looks like they've built that into the snipping tool now.
Yeah, that's built into snipping now.
Yeah, so that's basically OCR for like copying text out of an image where it's not actually text. They added something called light switch recently, which has been
why isn't this part of the OS?
Yes, that's exactly what I was about to say. Maybe calling this a pain point is a little bit hyperbolic, but it's been something that has annoyed me about Windows for a long time, is that every other OS that I am aware of has a timer setting for using light and dark mode.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Why not just always be dark moding?
I've considered it.
It's good in the dark, Brad.
Call me old fashioned.
Wow. Hey, Brad, you're old fashioned.
Probably. But like macOS has had this for years, and I assume most of the major Linux desktop environments also. I think I'm pretty sure
everything does. Yeah.
Like iOS, like everything has this except Windows. So
yeah, you could do this on your game consoles too.
Right. Yes.
Like
totally.
the Switch has light and dark mode now.
Like the Xbox has this, and you can set timers and stuff.
My car does this.
Right. See?
Well, yeah, because you don't want like blinding white backgrounds on your HUD
at night
when you're driving at night.
This is an in-demand feature. Anyway, Light Switch is part of PowerToys now as of 6 months ago, I think, that lets you finally set customized timers for light and dark mode in
Does
Windows.
it ask your latitude and stuff, so it gets it right? The time changes right throughout the year.
I don't know actually. There's a bunch of stuff. They added something called Peak, which is basically quick look from the Finder
it's the best. That's really good.
In macOS, where in macOS you just literally hit spacebar on any file, and it will, if it's a text file, it'll show you the contents. If it's an image, it'll show you the image. It'll preview videos. Like it just is a quick way to see what is in a file without actually having to open an application.
It's instantaneous on a machine with an SSD.
Yeah. So this Peak is maybe a tad bit jankier than the macOS equivalent, but it still works quite well.
Can I shout out Power Rename? This is my favorite Power toy.
You mentioned that. I've never used this before, but it seems like an extremely powerful bulk file renamer.
Yeah, if you can write regex to rename files, or I believe you can just open up a directory listing and then edit the files like it's a text editor. Which, like, if you have a big list of MP3s or like when I was organizing my Plex folders, it was incredibly powerful for managing this. FileBot is better, but this is a good non-paid alternative.
That's the nice thing about PowerToys is this one install that comes with all these tools, and they're very easy to toggle each one on and off individually, and you can set custom hotkeys for each one. The other one I'll mention real quick, which I have not used yet, but I was looking at it right before this, is Advanced Paste, which I think is new, which will basically do conversions on what you're pasting, at runtime, at paste time.
You can paste with AI.
Yeah, that is a toggle I noticed in there, which thankfully, at least on my install, defaulted to off.
I was going to say, like, I was kind of surprised by how little AI jank is in this still.
I mean, I attribute that again to it being open source and like somewhat community driven in its direction.
Maybe, yeah. But the conversion on the fly is neat, though. Can you do audio and video and stuff like that, too?
Yes. Let me pull it back up. I had it up before. Where did it go? Here it is. So you can like transcode audio and video as you paste it. You can copy a wave and transcode to MP3 when you paste it, for example. You can transcode the video to MP4. You can paste text as a text file or an HTML file. Like I haven't used Advanced Paste. I'm not actually sure how useful it would be in practice, but it seems like an interesting idea. But anyway, it feels like there's like kind of something for everybody in modern PowerToys. And if you are still going to run Windows 11, you might as well do yourself a favor.
Like the number of times I have like an HEIC file from an iPhone and I want to paste that as a PNG so that normal people can look at it. Like that happens a lot, right? I
should try this actually, because
that's number one use for this for me. Like
I grab WebPs and what's the AV1?
WebV.
No. There's an AV1 image format now. Why am I blanking on?
I don't remember. AVC maybe?
AVIF is
AVIF,
what it is. It's the new image format that everybody hates more than WebP now, because even fewer things support it.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, like just pasting an AVIF or a WebP as a JPEG or a PNG would be super useful if that's how that thing works. I should try that.
There's a world where you install PowerToys on your computer, and like with fancy zones and the command palette stuff and all that, you can get to something that's very similar to a tiling window manager.
Fancy Zones is another one I rely on quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, Fancy Zones lets you, like, it basically gives you more control over the snap zones in the corner in the maximize window.
Kind of set up like kind of custom geometry for your snapping zones, which is pretty handy if you have certain use cases.
Let's talk about tiling window managers for a bit, because this is my favorite thing of the last like 6 months.
Okay.
we talked about it a little bit before here in the past, but people always have questions, so I'll go a little deeper this time. I run this thing. The tiling window managers have been around for a long time, and the idea in the old days was that you just divide your desktop into halves or quarters or thirds, and then when you open a window, the windows all slot into one of those spots, and then you have a bunch of virtual desktops rather, for different tasks. So you have like one for your chat apps and one for email and one for your reference work and one for writing or video editing or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing to know if you're trying to visualize this is you kind of never see your desktop. Like the applications basically fill the entire screen, or they each fill half the screen if there are two of them. Like you're kind of not wasting space with floating windows. You're sort of maximizing the space, but again, you're never seeing like empty desktop.
At the same time, you also don't have windows on top of other windows, really.
Yeah.
So, like I said, these have been around for a long time. The thing that's changed in the last little bit is that this tiling manager called Neary came on, and Neary says, it's great that you guys want to live inside the confines of your monitor, but what if instead of doing that, your windows just scrolled infinitely on a line, and each virtual desktop was its own string of windows? And they did that and then built the UI frameworks for that on top of this thing called Quick Shell in Linux, which is like a kind of framework for building, like in the same way that React is a framework for building web apps, Quick Shell is a framework for building UI widgets and UI Chrome. And the pace of development over the last year on this has been pretty ridiculous. There's a couple of really popular Quick Shell shells that live on top of Neary or Hyperland. Hyperland is the tiling window manager that stays inside your monitor frame. Dank Shell is one. Noctalia Shell is another. I've been running Noctalia almost exclusively for the last like 5 months.
Dank Shell.
I could not in seriousness install. I honestly installed Noctalia and was like, if this just sucks, I'll try Dank Shell. And then when both of those don't work, I'll go back to GNOME or KDE or something. And then I just stayed on the Neary and Noctalia shell tip. The neat thing about it is you configure everything into this big giant text file called config.kdl, and you can do you can insert other files into that. So like I have one universal config.kdl that has that sets up a bunch of desktops, like virtual desktops. So I have one for main, which is where like my browser and Notion and the stuff that I'm using when I'm working, that it corresponds with my main monitor or the main desktop on a laptop. Then I have one that's called Chat that has, like Slack and Discord and Signal and Blue Bubbles and all that kind of stuff on it. I have another one that's like work media, that's where Audacity and OBS and stuff like that go. And then I have machine specific files that go with different computers. So like my desktop has one that describes which workspaces go on which monitors, right? So like on the desktop, the chat and the media workspaces both go on my upper monitor, my secondary monitor, and main and games go on the main monitor. So that means when I launch games, when I launch Steam, it goes on the games tab. When I launch a game, it goes on the games tab. When I launch Audacity, it goes on the media workspace, and so on and so forth. Now, when I'm on my laptop, all of those workspaces go on the same display because I only have one display hooked up to it. So I just scroll between the displays using the trackpad. And the kind of TLDR is that when I start the computer, I just have it start the things that I always have running, like Discord and Slack and all that. And the windows all automatically go to the same place. They're always in the same order. I always know exactly where stuff is. I can hit the super key and the arrow key to navigate between monitors and between different programs on any given workspace. And then I can do hit super plus O to open an overview that shows me all the workspaces and all the scroll on all the desktops and lets me kind of mouse between them as well. And it's an incredibly powerful way to navigate the desktop. Like it's been kind of revelatory for me.
I can say I've been sitting here. I've got the video demo running on the Neary GitHub repo, and it's a bit hypnotic. I'm going to be real. I'm sort of like zoning out a little bit, just watching all the windows. Like it also animates very smoothly, and I feel like that's something that a lot of Linux desktop stuff has really been focusing on in recent years is kind of like more human-friendly animation transition type stuff to make it, A, feel a little friendlier, B, communicate what is changing a little better. Like these windows resize and scroll in a really like pleasant, snappy way. It's like, as somebody has gone on record many times as saying, hey, I want all my window transitions to be 1 frame long. I want them to just happen. Like this is actually an acceptably snappy interface for me to watch these animate around because they are so fast that you can actually communicate which direction did that window go? Oh, it went to the right because I saw it snap in that direction, but very quickly.
Here's the thing about this too is that you can configure all those. Like you can configure the springiness, you can configure the speed, you can configure how many frames of animation it is. Like I set the springiness and the inertia to like 0.1, which is just to be clear, 100th of the normal setting or something. And it was like the windows were bouncing around on the moon. It took like 5 minutes for a window to snap into place. It was kind of annoying, but it was very funny.
That's very amusing.
Now the downside of this, the good thing is you have hotkeys for everything. Like you can center windows, you make windows full screen, you make them bigger or smaller in chunks, and they're universal across all the apps. So like if a game opens in a window, I just hit Super F and it makes it full screen and it works itself out. The downside is that when a normal human being sits down in front of any of my computers now, they're basically unusable for them because there is no moving the mouse. I mean, I guess you can set it so that you move the mouse to the edge of the screen and it scrolls to the next window to the right or the left, but I don't do that for a multitude of reasons. So it's not perfect, but it is a really nice way to use keyboards and computers. And there are some Windows compatible tiling managers coming online that you replace the default Windows tiling manager. Window manager.
Are those hooking into? I'm always a bit iffy about modifying low level Windows stuff.
100%.
Like these are like replacing system libraries, or I don't know if they're touching DLLs or what. But
I am 100% sure that they're impacting low level Windows system stuff that breaks on the reg.
Yeah.
There's one called Komorebi, Komorebi. I haven't tested any of these for what it's worth. There's Glaze WM, there's WimQ, WHIMQ, and
these are the Windows ones?
These are the Windows ones.
Interesting.
And there's JWNOQ, are the kind of 4 or 5 big ones. But yeah, it's there's a lot going on there. It's to the point.
Fuck, man. I'm watching this video of Komorebi and it just looks like a Linux environment at this point. Like you kind of can't even tell this is Windows.
I mean, it's pretty nice, right? It looks pretty good.
Yeah,
I don't think any of these are scrolling for what it's worth.
Yeah. I think that seems like a fairly new paradigm in this space, as I am aware.
Yeah, I feel like both Dank and Noctalia started development last summer, and the pace on those is pretty remarkable. Partly because QuickShell abstracts out a lot of the hard stuff of this and makes it really extensible. But also both of those projects have reached a point where some of the QuickShell dependencies are not moving as fast as they want. So they're now forking those and making their own versions and stuff like that. So
of course,
we'll see how that goes.
The one place I would like to see this stuff catch on more is macOS.
I mean, I feel like this all started on macOS with Expose 100 years ago.
That's exactly it, is that macOS was the industry leader in navigating on a small single screen, especially with touch controls like gestures and stuff, and Expose, which became Mission Control, but their snapping game is abysmal.
It's bad.
I can't believe I'm saying that Windows snapping abilities are far beyond macOS's. For a company that, I mean, laptops have to be the absolute huge majority of Apple's hardware sales, right? Or the computer sales.
I would assume so, yeah.
Like for a company that mostly ships laptops in the computer space, the fact that they do not have more snapping and navigation stuff at this point is kind of criminal.
And the snapping in the iPad OS is really good. Like the iPad OS snaps really well. Like they've cracked this. This is a solved problem for them.
Yeah, I really I hope they do something about it.
I don't know. The thing on the desktop versus laptop front, it's really interesting because the desktop, it took me a while to get the desktop feeling is good. The laptop feels pretty good out of the box because all of a sudden you have like what feels like a lot more space to work with than just the monitor. Like your mind your cognitive load for managing a bunch of windows with the tiling window manager on the laptop is really low, because you're basically just doing like 3 and 4 finger swipes on the trackpad to navigate between virtual spaces and back and forth along the line. On the Windows machine, it took me a little while, and the big jump that I made was that I realized I had to make the keyboard shortcuts the same on both machines.
Sure.
And then that led me to just syncing them on GitHub, which is a whole other thing that we'll talk about at some point in the future. But that's also where having the file inserts, the inserted files is nice, because I have some stuff that's machine specific that only lives on the machines, and then some stuff that's synced across all the machines that is really useful. And I guess the next step is probably making sure I can sync all of the same. Anyway, we'll talk about that later, but I gotta do a better backup of my config files, because it would be really sad if I lost some of the machine specific ones.
Yeah.
Anyway, tiling window managers are cool, man.
Yes, I can see it. Maybe I've kind of been feeling the desktop Linux itch again.
Yeah, let's go.
I might start tinkering again at some point. And I should try one of those, even if I don't think I would like it, or if I don't think I'll switch permanently. Like, just getting some hands-on time would be great.
So I was going to say one of the easier ways to start is actually with Pop or a Cosmic distro.
Oh yeah, because Cosmic has a tiling mode, right? So that's exactly where I would like kind of every major computer maker's desktop, Windows, macOS, everything to get to, is just provided as an option.
It seems like the right choice. The Cosmic one is not scrolling, but it is like a traditional tiling window architecture, and you can flip it on a per workspace level. So it's a good way to try it out if you just want to dip in with a live distro or something without having to do a bunch of configuration.
Does Neri have a static option, or does it have to be scrolling?
Can
you actually kind of like a rigid screen by screen kind of thing instead?
Well, I mean, if you wanted that, you would just set certain apps to launch on certain workspaces and then only have those apps. I mean, you can move it, even if you set them to launch on a specific workspace, you can still move them between workspaces. So like my browser lives on the main tray. I don't know that you can set it to just be static, but you can do like a quad if you want. So like typically I do Neri as full height vertical windows, but if you want, you can do like half height or third height or whatever. I just don't bother. It's not worth the cognitive load there. You can also stack stuff, so you can send stuff forward and back in the depth plane as well.
Okay, sure.
If you want.
Got it. All right, my last one.
Yeah.
This is almost more of a public service announcement. If you want a Blu-ray device, I recommend you buy one as soon as possible.
Like a PC Blu-ray drive?
Either or, actually.
Oh, wow.
So we've touched on this in the past, not that long ago, but this just keeps getting worse. In the PC space, Buffalo, which makes, I think they only made portables, like the little...
like laptop ones.
Yeah, what is the laptop form factor? I don't know if there's a name for that. Like in a PC, we're talking like 5.25 inch drive bay size. But, the little slim line that would fit in a laptop. I think Buffalo only made those. I don't think they made the full-size ones, but they just exited the BD-ROM market. Some of their drives are still out there for like $100 if you want to buy one. And then there was a headline a couple weeks ago that Panasonic is now the last company making set-top, like home theater style Blu-ray players.
So then the only way to play is like a console with a disc drive, which probably won't make it through the next generation.
My understanding is that the Xbox and PS5, especially for UHD discs, they've been fine. I've tried both of those for regular Blu-rays and they were fine, but it sounds like they struggle quite a bit more with UHD discs.
Oh, that's wild.
But the reason I even saw the Panasonic thing is because the headline was that Panasonic put out a statement apologizing for lack of supply.
Wow.
Because they have been getting hammered by people buying their Blu-ray players, their set-top players, because they were the last ones making one now. So between these two things,
that's wild.
Like really, what I feel like this goes beyond BD-ROMs. Like really, I feel like what we're staring down here is the end of new consumer hardware that can read optical discs. Like we're not quite there yet, but it feels like 5 years from now, is anybody going to still be making devices that can read a CD or a DVD or a Blu-ray? I don't know.
Did the PS4 and Xbox One read UHD, or were they Blu-ray only?
Let's see. The Xbox One X definitely will play 4K. I think it. Well, actually, I shouldn't say definitely. That console definitely output at 4K. That was their whole pitch for the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X were, hey, 4K visuals. And I'm pretty sure the One X at least will play UHDs.
Oh yeah,
as well?
the Xbox One S 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray player after 1 year. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. The original Xbox One, I believe, will not.
Does not. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Yeah. It's way too old for that. But
that's wild.
Like there are some options. There are still options floating around in the used space for this sort of thing. But like, I don't know, man. My urge to hoard and like batten down the hatches on this is getting a bit urgent. Like I've got a full 5.25 drive in my PC flashed with custom firmware so it can read 4K discs and blah, blah, blah. I've also got a laptop, like a portable USB laptop style one. Still thinking about buying one of these Buffalo drives just to have another backup.
So I have a bunch of Blu-ray, like Blu-ray I guess HD Blu-ray. I don't know what the retronym is for Blu-ray that's not UHD.
I think just Blu-ray and then UHD.
So I have a bunch of those drives, and my understanding is that some of those you were able to upload a hacked firmware that would unlock UHD reading. So
I have an LG, just to put this whole thing in perspective, I have an LG that I bought in 2018. I went and checked the Amazon order for $50.
Yeah, that's about the right price for an optical drive.
Like that drive now basically cannot be found, and if you find it, it's like $200 plus.
Wow.
And it's one of many, like you said, that could be flashed with custom firmware. I think we've talked about this before. If you really want to go down the rabbit hole of this, go to the Make MKV forums.
Yeah.
Because that's where I did all the research. Like those are the people, I think, hacking the firmware. Those are the people editing the firmware to make it so you can read 4K discs on those drives and that sort of thing. But they're getting real scarce.
That sucks.
It's just a PSA. And the other reason this has come back to mind is that I have been trying to organize and expunge old stuff, going through old boxes to see like what tchotchkes I can get rid of and stuff.
Yeah.
I found a stack of burned discs in a box and just immediately was seized by the fear of like, what if in 5 or 10 years I find another stack like this that I would love to read and I have no more working optical drives? Like it's getting a little scary. And there was like, they were mostly useless. It's like, here's a CD full of MP3s or whatever, but a couple of them were a long-lost GameSpot E3 DVD that's not available on the internet.
Wow, really?
And the best we can tell, we've been talking about this on the Next Lane Ramblecast, but based on user feedback, it sounds like it was the E3 2006 GameSpot documentary. It sounds like we didn't sell that DVD commercially like we had before. We just put out an ISO for people to burn.
Oh, that's wild.
Which is why I have a burned copy of it, but it's full on, it's like an hour-long documentary of us covering E3 2006.
All the footage from E3 2006. Right. Man, that's really cool. I didn't know you did that.
And yeah, GameSpot, like that was like business for a while. For 3-4 years there, like GameSpot made really nice DVDs of E3 and sold them.
I mean, in a world where bandwidth was hard and a lot of people were still on dial-up, it makes a ton of sense.
100% it is that by modern standards, the video we were able to put on the website was still pretty crappy. So the DVD you could order was, if you wanted to see the games of E3 at the highest possible quality, you were buying that DVD. But anyway, again, this is one that was not made commercially available. It was just like apparently put out for people to burn. Like I think GameSpot meant like paying members got the ISO or something, but that thing's not even on archive.org. So
there you go.
If I did not have a way to read those discs when I found them, I have now, of course, made ISOs of them and have them on my NAS. But like, again,
you should put them on archive.org, Brad.
I should. Well,
they belong in a museum.
There's a whole long story there where there's actually 3 more discs I don't have, but a Nextlander supporter does. So I'm hoping to maybe get all 5 ISOs together before I put them all up together.
That's awesome.
But just feels like maybe a good idea to have an optical drive around in case you need one.
Yeah. Okay, I got a couple more quickie things. One is don't give up on end-of-life hardware. My Nest thermostat Generation 2, famously impacting a fairly large number of people, was end-of-life recently by Google. And I mean, their reasons for end-of-lifing it are probably fair. I think that they lost kernel support for the hardware that thing runs. But there's a community. There was a bounty program that was claimed by somebody. The project's called No Longer Evil, and basically it's a 2-part project. One is firmware for the thermostat that just changes what server endpoint it looks for. It's user configurable, and then the other part is a server side that basically sends the API commands back and forth to it from an app. And there's multiple places you can run the server. They'll run the server for you in the cloud, which I have no interest in. I wasn't like, that was the part of this that came online first, but moving off of the centralized web-based shared services was a big part of the reason I wanted to get rid of the thermostat in the first place. They recently released a Home Assistant plugin through the HACS, I think, that basically runs the server on your Home Assistant install, which is where I would want that to run anyway. And I got it. It took me an afternoon, but I got it up and running. And now basically I can change the thermostat in the Apple Home app and my Home Assistant app, just like I was before.
That rules.
But without going out to the internet anywhere.
That's even better.
And and it's quite good. The documentation was bad, like actively out of date and terrible. So if you're going to do this, what I would suggest is opening up their Discord and getting in the channel where they give the guides, because the guides in the Discord were more up to date. And also there was a lot of, oh yeah, we haven't updated the documentation for this yet. Here's the best way to do this in the troubleshooting and help column. That
is such classic open source project stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It's just a different type of research, I guess. It can be a lot of work.
It's a bummer, though, because that stuff's invisible to search in a way that like putting it on the Get Issues page would not be. But anyway, regardless, it was worth the effort. It was worth going into the Discord. The people there were super friendly and nice, and they were excited to help. So, like,
I mean, that's cool. Like, the ultimate chef's kiss of something like this is when you not only resurrect the old hardware, but it actually works better than it did before.
Yeah, net improvement.
Yeah, that's rad.
There's also probably some security stuff. Like, I didn't do a code audit of their server plugin for Home Assistant, so like security is a concern. But
although
I'm fine. Like,
I mean, I guess when you're integrating it into the Home Assistant, it potentially could compromise something that's part of Home Assistant. But if it's not exposed to the open internet, at least that's not a concern.
Yeah. The other part of this is don't be afraid to submit bug reports and feature requests, right? Especially on open source projects. I know, like, I don't often submit bug reports on Windows because it feels like screaming into the void and never getting a response. I have done it a couple of times when things have been especially egregious with some of the later Windows 11 related things.
Yeah.
But like, I submitted a feature request for an Apple TV idea years ago, and it ended up in the next version of the Apple TV and iOS software, right?
Oh,
the thing I suggested was I have multiple Apple TVs in my house, and I use the phone as a Bluetooth, as the remote for most of them, right? I hardly ever use the physical remotes. And I was like, why does it not just automatically connect to the Apple TV that has the highest Bluetooth signal to noise ratio? And then the next iOS release, it suddenly started doing that. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm sure I wasn't the only person who suggested that.
Yeah. How did you suggest it? Do they have like a formal, just like feature request submission form or something?
I Googled just submit a feature to Apple.
Okay.
They had a form on their website with a bunch of pull downs.
I wanted to make sure this wasn't like tech journalist privilege, like you were talking to a PR person or something.
Nope. I sent it in through the normal forms like everybody else. And I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure I wasn't the only person who suggested that, but it was a major quality of life improvement for me.
Yeah, that's cool. I will say, like, on the open source side, like I've said it before, but there have been a few cases where like submitting a bug and then working with a maintainer to squash the bug have been basically the most wholesome and productive and rewarding interactions I have had on the internet in years. Like, you're helping make something better for both yourself and other people. If it's software you use and it's got an issue and that gets fixed, it's like, that's improving your life, but it's also helping, it's making the product better, or the project rather, better for other people. Like, you're helping the person who does the work making the thing make it better, like it just feels good.
Yep. It is wholesome is a good way to describe it, because it does people, and also the speed at which that stuff turns around. Like, if you submit a bug report to Microsoft, I wouldn't expect to see anything for a year unless it's a bug, like a security problem. When you submit something to some open source project that probably tens or hundreds of thousands of people are touching, but that is maintained by one or two people that just do it because they like they want this to exist. Those people are always really excited. Yep. Well, sometimes they're rude, but like most of the time they're pretty positive, and it's a really positive experience. Yeah. So,
and also be cool,
Yeah.
Like this is maybe a topic for another time. I've spent enough time going through GitHub issues on different projects that I have seen a certain archetype emerge.
Yeah, you mean the entitled one?
User. Yeah, of user
Yeah.
This kind of imperious, like people who clearly don't write code themselves, but get very imperious about what features it should have and how slow the maintainers are about fixing bugs and like X, Y, and Z. Like
don't be like that.
Yes, there is a certain kind of like maybe they're a power user. I don't know that is.
Power user parentheses negative.
It's a pretty entitled sort of personality archetype that you will see on some projects that I find very off-putting.
Yeah, but if you come in and be like, hey, I've searched, I didn't find an answer to this. Here's the problem I'm having. Here are the logs and stuff that you usually ask for. Like, yeah, we could do a whole episode about how to submit bug reports that are good.
Yeah, in fact, I think there's maybe even a slightly broader, just sort of how to use GitHub as an average user.
Oh, you're gonna love this week's Toolboot Diaries.
Oh, good, because like it's still like a whole ass genre of social media posts you see of people just complaining about not knowing how to just download software and run it from GitHub.
Well, but also it's kind of it kind of reminds me of 90s internet, 90s message board rules, because like, you know, the rule on 90s message boards was, hey, don't start posting until you've been there lurking for a little bit and see how people interact.
Yep.
And like that applies here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's always helpful when I submit a bug report or a pull request or something for a project. I dig into like the last couple of pull requests or the last couple of bug reports and see what people posted and like what information they gave. So that then like if the person who maintains it has a pretty obvious like, oh, I have a keyboard macro for generating this text that says, hey, send me these logs. Here's how you get them, blah, blah, blah. Just do that up front. And then they're going to love you.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, bug reports, they turns out they, especially in open source stuff, they make a difference.
Yep.
Last thing is Firefox finally added the turn off all AI button.
Oh, good.
So if you have Firefox and you don't want AI in Firefox, you should hit that button. It's relatively easy to find.
Now that's news you can use.
Yeah. And I guess that'll do it for us this week.
Yeah.
We've been through a whole big list. We talked about your Stream Deck. I had Stream Deck is an incredibly powerful tool on the list. I think we did a whole episode about that last year, though, so we don't need to dig into it more. But
I hesitate to say this because I don't want to sound like I'm shilling for Elgato. I'm definitely not. But did you see that they just launched a Stream Deck Plus XL?
Yeah, it's got 6 knobs instead of just 4.
Well, so the regular Stream Deck XL is just buttons. That's what I have.
I have one of those, and then I have a Stream Deck Stream Deck Plus.
Right,
with buttons and 4 knobs.
Right, so and does it not have a touch strip, or is that little strip just screen?
The screen, it's a touch strip. It's a touch strip. Like I have that swiping bound to change pages.
Okay,
but it's showing what your knob is adjusting because the knobs don't have screens.
I'm looking at this damn thing. The XL is 8x4. It's 4 rows of 8 buttons.
Yeah, that's what
And the Plus is like
9x4, right?
No. Just the regular Plus is tiny. It's only like what 8 buttons or something,
and the strip, yeah,
and the little screen strip and the knobs.
Yeah,
dude, this thing is 9x4, so it's 36 buttons.
So yeah,
and 6 knobs and the large screen. But also, this thing is $350. Like,
I mean,
no, thank you.
Here's the thing: is if you're doing like a 1-person show where you're like. We talked about getting this for the office, for the streaming machine at the office, because then we would set up everybody's feeds as OBS audio sources, so we could do the audio adjustments like when we're not sitting in front of the audio mixer. But for most people, you don't like. Yeah, it's massive overkill.
Absolutely. And also, well, whatever. This is for another time, probably. Their Elgato's Linux support is not great. So if you're going to be booting back and forth.
Let me tell you about OpenDeck, which also has a vibrant open source community. And they've built a wine layer that lets you run a lot of the Elgato plugins on Linux.
Wow. That sounds like some Patreon episode fodder to me.
It's every bit as janky, but occasionally amazing as you would expect. Like it's early and it's rough, but the people working on it are making good decisions.
Well, that's great to know that something. I know there have been some other Stream Deck Linux support efforts in the past.
I have tried them all.
Yeah. Seeing something like this, it's very encouraging knowing this is going.
Yeah. Like they have, the interesting thing about the Stream Deck, not to belabor it, is like half of my buttons are for like OBS and streaming stuff, and then the other half are just normal computer stuff. Like, I have a button to turn off monitors. I have buttons for Discord soundboards. I have buttons for like a mic mute and stuff like that. When I'm in calls, it's a system level mute, all that kind of stuff. It's an incredibly powerful piece of software.
Yep.
You know what else Oh, go ahead.
I think we're about to land on the same side. You know what else is a just incredibly powerful piece of software?
The human mind.
Sure.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say.
I was going to say Patreon.
Oh, okay.
Patreon is a way that you can support listener-supported podcasts like ours.
Mm-hmm.
You'll note we don't have ads. We didn't, at no point in the middle of the show did you and I stop talking about the thing that you're interested in and talk about something else.
True.
And if you like that and would like to encourage that behavior, you can go to patreon.com/techpod and send us a $5 bribe that's like, hey, man, I love not having ads on your podcast. Why don't you keep doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And we that is one bribe that we will take.
Yeah. I mean, when you support this podcast, you were keeping it free and ad free for everybody.
Yeah. Everybody does their part. And as a result, we're here every week with no ads. Again, it's patreon.com/techpod. You get the no ad tech pod. Like everybody gets that, whether you pay or not, because that's just, we're kind. Okay. We're good people. But if you do pony up the $5, you get access to the Discord and you get the monthly patron exclusive episodes where I think we're going to talk about Open Deck. It sounds like a little bit. And yeah, it's a good community full of people and interesting topics on the patron episode that maybe are too small for a full episode often. So that'll do it for us this week, rather. As always, thanks to our executive producer tier patrons, including OpenAI Delenda Est, Andrew Slosky, Jordan Lippett, Fiends5, Warren. I don't know what that one is, but I'm into it. David Allen, James Kamek, and Pantheon, makers of the HS3 high-speed 3D printer. I got a lot of feedback on 3D printers when I said I was thinking about getting another 3D printer the other day.
You know, it's a topic people are passionate about.
Yeah, like it turns out when you start looking for 3D printer stuff, you start seeing a lot of 3D printer related projects that people post. And then you're like, you know what I need? I need a 3D printer. And yeah, anyway, I haven't bought a 3D printer yet. That's the TLDR.
Don't 3D print in the state of Washington, I guess.
Wait, why not?
There has been some legislation. I'm not actually.
Oh,
I don't know enough about it. I probably shouldn't even bring it up. I believe some legislation passed in Washington recently about use of 3D printers that seems like it didn't go over great. I'm not sure.
Oh, well, you know, legislators always have a really good grasp on the nuances of new and emerging technologies. So
always. What
could possibly go wrong? We'll be back next week with another edition of the Tech Pod. As always, please consider the environment. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Tech Pod. As always, please.
Wait, I want to know what the Tech Pad is.
The Tech Pad is that's my numeric keypad. I just have it over here so I can.
Is this how we get into merch?
We're not making hardware.
Are we going to come up with a product called the Tech Pad that becomes the actual core of our business?
Is it a mouse pad? Is it a big giant mouse pad that has like so we could do a dual-sided mouse pad where your face is on one side, my face is on the other, and you decide whether you have the Brad one or the Will one?
That just sounds like a popularity contest. Also, I regret to inform you there are numerous other products called the Tech Pad.
Oh, boo. Okay, well, anyway, we'll be back next week with another edition of the Tech Pod. As always, please consider the environment before printing this podcast. Please share the podcast, though. We love sharing.